Top 10 Best Books of All Time. Number 10. The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby is a 1925 novel by American writer F. Scott Fitzgerald. Set in the Jazz Age on Long Island, near New York City, the novel depicts first-person narrator Nick Carraway's interactions with mysterious millionaire Jay Gatsby and Gatsby's obsession to reunite with his former lover, Daisy Buchanan. The novel was inspired by a youthful romance Fitzgerald had with socialite Ginevra King, and the riotous parties he attended on Long Island's North Shore in 1922. Following a move to the French Riviera, Fitzgerald completed a rough draft of the novel in 1924. He submitted it to editor Maxwell Perkins, who persuaded Fitzgerald to revise the work over the following winter. After making revisions, Fitzgerald was satisfied with the text, but remained ambivalent about the book's title and considered several alternatives. Painter Francis Cugat's dust jacket art, named Celestial Eyes, greatly impressed Fitzgerald, and he incorporated its imagery into the novel. After its publication by Scribner's in April 1925, The Great Gatsby received generally favorable reviews, though some literary critics believed it did not equal Fitzgerald's previous efforts. Compared to his earlier novels, This Side of Paradise, 1920, and The Beautiful and Damned, 1922, the novel was a commercial disappointment. It sold fewer than 20,000 copies by October, and Fitzgerald's hopes of a monetary windfall from the novel were unrealized. When the author died in 1940, he believed himself to be a failure and his work forgotten. During World War II, the novel experienced an abrupt surge in popularity when the Council on Books in Wartime distributed free copies to American soldiers serving overseas. This newfound popularity launched a critical and scholarly re-examination, and the work soon became a core part of most American high school curricula and a part of American popular culture. Numerous stage and film adaptations followed in the subsequent decades. Gatsby continues to attract popular and scholarly attention. Scholars emphasize the novel's treatment of social class, inherited versus self-made wealth, gender, race, and environmentalism, and its cynical attitude towards the American dream. The Great Gatsby is widely considered to be a literary masterpiece and a contender for the title of the Great American Novel. Number 9. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Diary of a Wimpy Kid is an American children's book series and media franchise created by American author and cartoonist Jeff Kinney. The series follows Greg Heffley, a middle schooler who illustrates his daily life in a diary, although he insists that it is a journal. Kinney spent 8 years working on the first book before showing it to a publisher. In 2004, Funbrain and Kinney released an online version of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The website made daily entries from September 2004 to June 2005. The online version had received almost 20 million views by 2009. Nonetheless, many online readers requested a printed version. In February 2006, during the New York Comic Con, Kinney signed a multi-book deal with publisher Abrams Books to turn Diary of a Wimpy Kid into a printed book series. The first installment was released in April 2007 and received immediate success. In April 2009, Time magazine named Kinney in the Time 100 Most Influential People. As of June 2024, the series consists of 18 main entries, as well as an activity book. A spin-off series centering on the character Rowley Jefferson has 3 installments as of 2021. 20th Century Studios produced a live-action film series of the same name from 2010 to 2017, and 3 animated films in the early 2020s. Since the release of the online version, most of the books have garnered positive reviews and commercial success. As of 2020, more than 250 million copies have been sold globally, making it the 4th best-selling book series of all time. Number 8. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is a fantasy novel written by British author J.K. Rowling. The first novel in the Harry Potter series and Rowling's debut novel follows Harry Potter, a young wizard who discovers his magical heritage on his 11th birthday when he receives a letter of acceptance to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Harry makes close friends and a few enemies during his first year at the school. With the help of his friends, Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger, he faces an attempted comeback by the dark wizard Lord Voldemort, who killed Harry's parents but failed to kill Harry when he was just 15 months old. The book was first published in the United Kingdom on June 26, 1997 by Bloomsbury. It was published in the United States the following year by Scholastic Corporation under the title Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It won most of the British Book Awards that were judged by children and other awards in the US. The book reached the top of the New York Times list of best-selling fiction in August 1999, and stayed near the top of that list for much of 1999 and 2000. It has been translated into at least 73 other languages and made into a feature-length film of the same name, as have all 6 of its sequels. The novel has sold in excess of 120 million copies, making it the 4th best-selling book of all time. Most reviews were very favorable, commenting on Rowling's imagination, humor, simple, direct style and clever plot construction, although a few complained that the final chapters seemed rushed. The writing has been compared to that of Jane Austen, one of Rowling's favorite authors, Roald Dahl, whose works dominated children's stories before the appearance of Harry Potter, and the ancient Greek storyteller Homer. While some commentators thought the book looked backward to Victorian and Edwardian boarding school stories, others thought it placed the genre firmly in the modern world by featuring contemporary ethical and social issues, as well as showing overcoming obstacles like bullying. The Harry Potter series has been used as a source of object lessons in educational techniques, sociological analysis, and marketing. Number 7. To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird is a novel by the American author Harper Lee. It was published in July 1960 and became instantly successful. In the United States, it is widely read in high schools and middle schools. To Kill a Mockingbird has become a classic of modern American literature. A year after its release, it won the Pulitzer Prize. The plot and characters are loosely based on Lee's observations of her family, her neighbors, and an event that occurred near her hometown of Monroeville, Alabama, in 1936, when she was 10. Despite dealing with the serious issues of rape and racial inequality, the novel is renowned for its warmth and humor. Atticus Finch, the narrator's father, has served as a moral hero for many readers and as a model of integrity for lawyers. The historian Joseph Crispino explains, in the 20th century, To Kill a Mockingbird is probably the most widely read book dealing with race in America, and its main character, Atticus Finch, the most enduring fictional image of racial heroism. As a Southern Gothic novel and Bildungsroman, the primary themes of To Kill a Mockingbird involve racial injustice and the destruction of innocence. Scholars have noted that Lee also addresses issues of class, courage, compassion, and gender roles in the Deep South. Lessons from the book emphasize tolerance and decry prejudice. Despite its themes, To Kill a Mockingbird has been subject to campaigns for removal from public classrooms, often challenged for its use of racial epithets. In 2006, British librarians ranked the book ahead of the Bible as one every adult should read before they die. Reaction to the novel varied widely upon publication. Despite the number of copies sold and its widespread use in education, literary analysis of it is sparse. Author Mary McDonough Murphy, who collected individual impressions of To Kill a Mockingbird by several authors and public figures, calls the book an astonishing phenomenon. It was adapted into an Academy Award-winning film in 1962 by director Robert Mulligan, with a screenplay by Horton Foote. Since 1990, a play based on the novel has been performed annually in Harper Lee's hometown. To Kill a Mockingbird was Lee's only published book until Go Set a Watchman. An earlier draft of To Kill a Mockingbird was published on July 14, 2015. Lee continued to respond to her work's impact until her death in February 2016, although she had refused any personal publicity for herself or the novel since 1964. Number 6. 1984. 1984 is a dystopian novel and cautionary tale by English writer George Orwell. It was published on June 8, 1949 by Secker and Warburg as Orwell's ninth and final book completed in his lifetime. Thematically, it centers on the consequences of totalitarianism, mass surveillance, and repressive regimentation of people and behaviors within society. Orwell, a staunch believer in democratic socialism and member of the anti-Stalinist left, modeled the Britain under authoritarian socialism in the novel on the Soviet Union in the era of Stalinism and on the very similar practices of both censorship and propaganda in Nazi Germany. More broadly, the novel examines the role of truth and facts within societies and the ways in which they can be manipulated. The story takes place in an imagined future. The current year is uncertain, but believed to be 1984. Much of the world is in perpetual war. Great Britain, now known as Airstrip 1, has become a province of the totalitarian superstate Oceania, which is led by Big Brother, a dictatorial leader supported by an intense cult of personality manufactured by the party's thought police. The party engages in omnipresent government surveillance and, through the Ministry of Truth, historical negationism and constant propaganda to persecute individuality and independent thinking. The protagonist, Winston Smith, is a diligent mid-level worker at the Ministry of Truth who secretly hates the party and dreams of rebellion. Smith keeps a forbidden diary. He begins a sexual relationship with a colleague, Julia, and they learn about a shadowy resistance group called the Brotherhood. However, their contact within the Brotherhood turns out to be a party agent, and Smith and Julia are arrested. He is subjected to months of psychological manipulation and torture by the Ministry of Love. He ultimately betrays Julia and is released. He finally realizes he loves Big Brother. 1984 has become a classic literary example of political and dystopian fiction. It also popularized the term Orwellian as an adjective, with many terms used in the novel entering common usage, including Big Brother, doublethink, thought police, thought crime, newspeak, and 2 + 2 = 5. Parallels have been drawn between the novel's subject matter and real-life instances of totalitarianism, mass surveillance, and violations of freedom of expression, among other themes. Orwell described his book as a satire, and a display of the perversions to which a centralized economy is liable, while also stating he believed that something resembling it could arrive. Time included the novel on its list of the 100 best English-language novels published from 1923 to 2005, and it was placed on the Modern Library's 100 best novels list, reaching number 13 on the editor's list and number 6 on the reader's list. In 2003, it was listed at number 8 on the Big Read survey by the BBC. It has been adapted across media since its publication, most notably as a film, released in 1984, starring John Hurt, Susanna Hamilton and Richard Burton, and as an audio drama in 2024 starring Andrew Garfield, Andrew Scott, Cynthia Erivo and Tom Hardy. Number 5. The Hobbit. The Hobbit, or There and Back Again, is a children's fantasy novel by the English author J.R.R. Tolkien. It was published in 1937 to wide critical acclaim, being nominated for the Carnegie Medal and awarded a prize from the New York Herald Tribune for Best Juvenile Fiction. The book is recognized as a classic in children's literature and is one of the best-selling books of all time, with over 100 million copies sold. The Hobbit is set in Middle-earth and follows home-loving Bilbo Baggins, the Hobbit of the title, who joins the wizard Gandalf and the 13 dwarves of Thorin's company, on a quest to reclaim the dwarves' home and treasure from the dragon Smaug. Bilbo's journey takes him from his peaceful rural surroundings into more sinister territory. The story is told in the form of a picaresque or episodic quest. Several chapters introduce a new type of monster or threat as Bilbo progresses through the landscape. Bilbo gains a new level of maturity, competence, and wisdom by accepting the disreputable, romantic, fey, and adventurous sides of his nature and applying his wits and common sense. The story reaches its climax in the Battle of Five Armies, where many of the characters and creatures from earlier chapters re-emerge to engage in conflict. Personal growth and forms of heroism are central themes of the story, along with motifs of warfare. These themes have led critics to view Tolkien's own experiences during World War I as instrumental in shaping the story. The author's scholarly knowledge of Germanic philology and interest in mythology and fairy tales are often noted as influences, but more recent fiction including adventure stories and the works of William Morris also played a part. The publisher was encouraged by the book's critical and financial success and, therefore, requested a sequel. As Tolkien's work progressed on its successor, The Lord of the Rings, he made retrospective accommodations for it in The Hobbit. These few but significant changes were integrated into the second edition. Further editions followed with minor emendations, including those reflecting Tolkien's changing concept of the world into which Bilbo stumbled. The work has never been out of print. Its ongoing legacy encompasses many adaptations for stage, screen, radio, board games, and video games. Several of these adaptations have received critical recognition on their own merits. Number 4. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows is a fantasy novel written by British author J.K. Rowling and the seventh and final novel in the Harry Potter series. It was released on July 21, 2007 in the United Kingdom by Bloomsbury Publishing, in the United States by Scholastic, and in Canada by Rain Coast Books. The novel chronicles the events directly following Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, 2005, and the final confrontation between the wizards Harry Potter and Lord Voldemort. Deathly Hallows shattered sales records upon release, surpassing marks set by previous titles of the Harry Potter series. It holds the Guinness World Record for most novels sold within 24 hours of release, with 8.3 million sold in the US and 2.65 million in the UK. Reception to the book was generally positive, and the American Library Association named it a best book for young adults. A film adaptation of the novel was released in 2 parts. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1 in November 2010 and Part 2 in July 2011. Number 3. The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games is a 2008 dystopian young adult novel by the American writer Suzanne Collins. It is written in the perspective of 16-year-old Katniss Everdeen, who lives in the future, post-apocalyptic nation of Panem in North America. The capital, a highly advanced metropolis, exercises political control over the rest of the nation. The Hunger Games is an annual event in which one boy and one girl aged 12 to 18 from each of the 12 districts surrounding the capital are selected by lottery to compete in a televised battle royale to the death. The book received critical acclaim from major reviewers and authors. It was praised for its plot and character development. In writing The Hunger Games, Collins drew upon Greek mythology, Roman gladiatorial games, and contemporary reality television for thematic content. The novel won many awards, including the California Young Reader Medal, and was named one of Publishers Weekly's Best Books of the Year in 2008. The Hunger Games was first published in hardcover on September 14, 2008, by Scholastic, featuring a cover designed by Tim O'Brien. It has since been released in paperback and also as an audiobook and ebook. After an initial print of 200,000, the book had sold 800,000 copies by February 2010. Since its release, The Hunger Games has been translated into 26 languages, and publishing rights have been sold in 38 territories. The novel is the first in the Hunger Games trilogy, followed by Catching Fire, 2009, and Mockingjay, 2010. A film adaptation, directed by Gary Ross and co-written and co-produced by Collins herself, was released in 2012. Number 2. The Return of the King. The Return of the King is the third and final volume of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, following the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers. It was published in 1955. The story begins in the Kingdom of Gondor, which is soon to be attacked by the Dark Lord Sauron. The volume was praised by literary figures including W. H. Auden, Anthony Price, and Michael Straight, but attacked by Edwin Muir, who had praised the Fellowship of the Ring. The chapter, The Scouring of the Shire, and a chapter-length narrative in the appendices, The Tale of Aragorn and Arwen, have attracted discussion by scholars and critics. The Scouring of the Shire has been called the most important chapter in the whole novel, providing in its internal quest to restore the Shire a counterbalance to the main quest to destroy the ring. Commentators have read into it a variety of contemporary political allusions, including a satire of socialism and a strand of environmentalism. Tolkien described The Tale of Aragorn and Arwen as essential to the plot of the novel. It covers events both before and after the main narrative, and differs from it in not being from the Hobbit's point of view. Scholars have discussed the tale's themes, including love and death, Tolkien's balance between open Christianity and treating the characters as pagan, and the fact that having the tale as an appendix deprives the main story of much of its love interest. Number 1. The Bible. The Bible, from Koine Greek tau beta iota beta lambda alpha, ta biblia, the books, is a collection of religious texts or scriptures, some, all, or a variant of which are held to be sacred in Christianity, Judaism, Samaritanism, Islam, the Baha'i Faith, and other Abrahamic religions. The Bible is an anthology, a compilation of texts of a variety of forms, originally written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Koine Greek. The texts include instructions, stories, poetry, prophecies, and other genres. The collection of materials that are accepted as part of the Bible by a particular religious tradition or community is called a biblical canon. Believers in the Bible generally consider it to be a product of divine inspiration, but the way they understand what that means and interpret the text varies. The religious texts were compiled by different religious communities into various official collections. The earliest contained the first 5 books of the Bible, called the Torah in Hebrew and the Pentateuch, meaning 5 books, in Greek. The second oldest part was a collection of narrative histories and prophecies, the Nevi'im. The third collection, the Ketuvim, contains Psalms, Proverbs, and narrative histories. Tanakh is an alternate term for the Hebrew Bible composed of the first letters of those three parts of the Hebrew Scriptures: the Torah, teaching, the Nevi'im, prophets, and the Ketuvim, writings. The Masoretic text is the medieval version of the Tanakh, in Hebrew and Aramaic, that is considered the authoritative text of the Hebrew Bible by modern Rabbinic Judaism. The Septuagint is a Koine Greek translation of the Tanakh from the 3rd and 2nd centuries BC. It largely overlaps with the Hebrew Bible. Christianity began as an outgrowth of Second Temple Judaism, using the Septuagint as the basis of the Old Testament. The early church continued the Jewish tradition of writing and incorporating what it saw as inspired, authoritative religious books. The Gospels, Pauline epistles, and other texts quickly coalesced into the New Testament. With estimated total sales of over 5 billion copies, the Bible is the best-selling publication of all time. It has had a profound influence both on Western culture and history and on cultures around the globe. The study of it through biblical criticism has indirectly impacted culture and history as well. The Bible is currently translated or is being translated into about half of the world's languages.